Man, that's great. Hey, Robin, let's do some news.
Here's the news with Robin Spread.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, as long as we're doing news, I meant to tell you this earlier. There's this article, and I'll read it tomorrow on the air, but the CRTC is the Canadian version of the FCC, and they have just decided to force an owner of a radio station in Canada to sell the station.
Why?
Because the disc jockeys there were, I guess they're admirers, it says, of United States shock jock Howard Stern, and their crime, it turns out, was making offensive comments on the air. They were relentless in their use of the public airwaves to insult and ridicule people. So evidently they insulted some people on the air, and the Canadian government said to the owner, we're forcing you to sell this. We're not going to take your license.
You can't even have your radio station.
Yeah, you have to sell it, and they told them what to sell it for. I guess $25 million or something.
Oh. You knew what you were doing.
Isn't that a great government over there in Canada?
Well, that's why we're not there.
What offense brought this unprecedented act of censorship? Did the CHOI jocks incite violence or revolution? Nothing like that. Their only crime, it turns out, was making offensive comments on the air. The CRTC claims the radio personalities Jeff Fillion and Andre Arthur were relentless in their use of the public airwaves to insult and ridicule people.
Did I give any examples?
That would come as no surprise to their 80,000 listeners who have helped make the station the most popular in the city. An admirer of U.S. shock jock Howard Stern, Mr. Fillion is famous for his edgy and often crude commentary. It always ends up being some Howard Stern. They always,
it's you anyway.
Howard Stern does it. So a guy was smart enough to take my act and bring it to Canada.
Once we got booted out of there. Yeah.
Right. So the Canadian government doesn't like it.
So what happens to the jocks?
I think they were fired. I think.
Howard, right at the beginning.
Sorry. 25 million. They're putting 35 people out of work, the Canadian government. CHOI-FM will be yanked from the airwaves, closing a $25 million business and putting 35 people out of work.
So they're making them fire all the people.
Yeah. Yeah, Gary?
No, you found it.
Oh, okay. Awful stuff, no doubt, but if freedom of expression is to mean anything, it must include the freedom to offend. Free societies handle offensive speech by ignoring it or arguing against it, not banning it. No one outside China or Zimbabwe would dream of shutting down a newspaper over an offensive cartoon or ranting commentary. And that's the point. Why is there this, like, how come newspapers can do what they want and radio can't?
Right.
Canada, they're completely out of control. We were thrown off 2 Canadian radio stations for the very same thing. They basically made it so we couldn't operate.
Yeah, they ran us out of the country.
So I guess they figured, well, maybe we'll just put some Canadian Howard Stern clones on there and see how it goes. On the one hand, I'm happy about it because why should guys who just basically steal my show
get to make a living?
And as soon as they get in trouble, then they admit that they're Howard Stern listeners and Howard Stern clones. I think that's going to help them. We're just doing what Howard Stern does. He's still on the air. How come he can do it and we can't? Good question.
Well, no, we don't know how long we'll be able to do it.
Trust me, they're working on getting rid of me. It's just that I'm so goddamn successful, it's going to take a little more time. Not much, but a little more. Bush got it all figured out. By the way, I told you about a story earlier